Hello everyone and welcome to another video. So a couple of years ago, if you had asked me who my favourite Doctor was, I would have said David Tennant, specifically his 10th Doctor, as this was before Tennant came back as the 14th Doctor for the 60th anniversary specials. But if you were to ask me now, I would give a very different answer. I would say that Patrick Troughton is now my favourite Doctor. But why is this? Why have my tastes changed? And why Troughton specifically? Well, that's what I'm going to be talking about in this video. So first off, let me explain why I would now pick the second Doctor. Firstly, he has actually always been one of my favourites. I've often had a few Doctors that have always been very high up in my rankings, namely Patrick Troughton, Tom Baker, Peter Davison, Christopher Eccleston and David Tennant. I've always found Patrick Troughton's era to be my favourite from the show's entire history. That era's tendency to rely on base under siege stories, which I would argue have since become the standard and quintessential type of Doctor Who story, have always been comfort viewing for me. Whenever I've had a long day or am feeling down, I like to watch a Patrick Troughton story to help me relax and to take my mind off things. I'm sure that this is something that many other fans will also be able to relate to, even if they might feel like this with other eras from the show's history. And I did actually used to feel the same with David Tennant stories, especially Series 4. Secondly, I find what Troughton did with the role to be so wonderful. He has this cheekiness and wit that is so magical to watch, but he still has that darker edge to his portrayal. I like how the second Doctor would sometimes play the fool so as to trick his enemies into underestimating him and believing him to not be a threat. Obviously, Troughton's casting was an important moment for the show's survival. If he hadn't have been able to win over so many viewers with the idea that someone other than William Hartnell could play the Doctor, TV-wise anyway, then the show might very well have ended there and then. He did this despite the fact that he was so incredibly nervous about it early on. He didn't seem to be someone who looked at what Hartnell did and confidently declare, "I can do better than that." I also like the fact that he kept experimenting with his take on the character early on, being more comedic and getting up to silly antics before later on dialing it down and adding in that darker edge we discussed earlier. And as much as I like the new series Doctors and their costumes, I think there's something to be said about how understated Troughton's costume was. It wasn't some kind of expensive brand of clothing, it was just this scruffy, dishevelled Edwardian mess, which I think suits the alien time traveller aspect of the Doctor's overall character more. It seems much more timeless and unusual, as well as eccentric. I think another big reason why I love the second Doctor so much is because of how much I love the 60s era of the show as a whole. Not only do I find the missing episodes aspect so fascinating and tantalising, but I think 60s Who just has this certain magic to it. Even though the show's budget was very clearly minuscule back then, the sheer ingenuity and imagination that went into each story in that time is so delightful and enjoyable. But anyway, I mentioned at the start how David Tennant used to be my favourite Doctor. So how come it's now changed to Patrick Troughton? Well, I think it's because of how I no longer feel this burning desire to see more of Tennant in the role. I used to long for the supposed glory days of David Tennant as the Doctor and Russell T Davies as the showrunner, and dream about them both coming back to the show. But now we've obviously had that come true, and I feel pretty satisfied with what the 60th anniversary specials did in terms of allowing David Tennant to play an older and more mature and experienced version of the 10th Doctor. And I feel content with how the Doctor and Donna's story ends, with 14 taking up Donna's offer to join her family and have a rest. I'm not saying that I'm now against the idea of David Tennant coming back again one day, as I'm definitely not, but I don't feel like the BBC are turning down a great opportunity to wrap up Ten's emotional journey anymore. And let's not forget how many times the 10th Doctor came back for various expanded media projects during Jodie Whittaker's era, from the Time Lord Victorious multimedia event to video games and comics, teaming 10 and 13 up together. Some fans have since argued that this kind of felt like 10 was overshadowing 13's era, and that the creators of these projects kept doing this so as to capitalise on the massive amount of nostalgia that quite a few fans had for the 10th Doctor's era. Those same fans have also argued that the ultimate form of this was when David Tennant came back to the TV show for the 60th anniversary specials, supposedly overshadowing Jodie Whittaker's final moments in the part. And I think another reason why Tennant is no longer my favourite is because of how arrogant and selfish the 10th Doctor could come across as at times. Whilst this was intentional on Russell's part to show the Doctor's flaws, I know it's something that a few fans don't like about 10, and I do have to sympathise with that a little bit. But obviously that's nothing against David Tennant himself or Russell's writing. I think they're both very talented people, and I still enjoy Tennant's original era and also the 60th specials, but I find myself gravitating towards other Doctors more nowadays, particularly Patrick Troughton, of course. I think because of how well I personally think the 60th specials wrapped things up for 10's journey, I'm now able to appreciate other eras of the show more, particularly the Stephen Moffat era, which I used to absolutely hate, but I would now take over the first Russell T Davies era, funnily enough. I find it really interesting how much opinions can change over time, especially after re-watching TV stories after a long time. My 60th anniversary marathon last year has caused me to do a lot of re-evaluating, and to see some eras of the show in a whole new light. As much as people normally tend to stick to just one Doctor as their favourite, I'd be interested to know if any of you have changed your minds over time like me, and also what other aspects of the show's history you might have come to re-evaluate and gain a new appreciation for. Just like with my last video, I think this could lead to a really interesting discussion. But anyway, so there's my reasons for why I would now pick Patrick Troughton as my favourite Doctor, not David Tennant. But what did you think? Who's your favourite Doctor? Have you ever changed your mind and gone back and forth between some incarnations like I have? Or have you always had only one favourite? Please let me know in the comments section below. Anyway, so thanks for watching, I hope you liked it. Please don't forget to press that subscribe button below, as well as press the bell icon at the side of it, so that you'll stay notified of when all my new videos come out. This channel currently has 1,869 subscribers as of time of writing and recording this video. But if we can get to 2,500 by the end of this year, then I'll do another Q&A where you can ask me whatever questions you want. Just keep them polite, please. Also, please rate and comment below your thoughts on all of this. And please feel free to donate to my Ko-fi page, link in the description, or send me a YouTube super thanks below, if you want to, of course. And I shall see you all in another video. So, until next time, bye bye!